So you know how an aeroplane has a dashboard, and they need this dashboard, right? Because they need to see their altitude and their speed and their air pressure and everything they need to see. It needs to be on a dashboard in front of them. Okay. So I want to tell you a little story. It's a silly little story, I'll admit, but it's a little story that relates to marketing nonetheless. So let's just imagine, let's imagine it's you. No, let's imagine it's me, because it's actually, this person's a bit of a gump. So let's imagine I'm driving to a meeting, and all of a sudden the car starts to splutter. So I pull over to the side of the road and I call a mechanic. And the mechanic says, "Do you know why your car lost power, Mr. Petrie?" And I go, "Well, I've got no idea. This guy's got a lot more hair than me, but he can represent me for the meantime." He says, "Good news. Looks like you just ran out of fuel." "Oh, just ran out of petrol. Oh my goodness, how silly. I really should have filled up. I didn't realize." So he says, "All right, there you go. On your way." And I'm running late for this meeting now. So it's an important meeting. Hopefully I was going to win this good client, but now I'm running late. So I drive off and I speed off to my station to get it. He just gives me enough to get to the petrol station. And I get pulled over by a policeman, a Lego policeman, would you believe? Who'd have thought? And he pulls me over and says, "Do you know how fast you were going?" And I'm going, "Well, I've got no idea," right? Once again, just pushing my fringe back. And he says, "Well, you're going 75 in a 50 zone, right?" So I'm now further behind. He gives me a ticket and I drive off slowly this time. So, I kind of got to rush, but I've got to go slowly because he's watching me take off. Again, the car stops. I call the mechanic again. He says, "Do you know why the car stopped this time?" I said, "I've got no idea." So he lifts up the lid and he says, "Oh, look, this is ridiculous." He said, "Didn't the indicators tell you the car was getting too hot? You should have pulled over and put some water in." It's not much of a car, I'll admit. So I go, "What indicators?" I didn't see any heat thing. He said, "All your problems are coming down to one thing, right? Your dashboard's broken. In fact, you don't even have a dashboard, really. You've got no speedometer, which is why you got a speeding ticket. You've got no temperature gauge, which is why the car overheated. No fuel gauge, which is why you ran out of petrol in the first place, right? None of the feedback for the key performance indicators for your car. Mr. Petrie, you're a fool. This car is an absolute dog." So I thought, "Oh, I'm right." I said, "What do I do?" He said, "Well, sell it. Get rid of it." I said, "All right." So he said, "No indicators means no warning as you run out of petrol, no warning as the car's overheating, no warning as you're driving too fast." And now I've missed my meeting with this potentially huge client, and I'm too late for that. So I've missed everything. I've got a ticket, and I've got the mechanic's bills. So I'm going to sell this car because it's more trouble than it's worth, right? So someone comes around. I put an ad in the newspaper, just using old school techniques. And someone says, "Oh, how many kilometers does the car have on the clock?" And I go, "Kilometers? What do you mean?" I've got no idea. There's no kilometer gauge on my car. Thinking, and you go, "Well, I'm not buying it. You can't even tell me how many kilometers this car." So I go, "Oh, that's enough. I'm gonna get a dashboard." So I install a dashboard, and then all of a sudden I've got a speedometer, a temperature gauge, a fuel gauge. It's a different car. And now I actually don't even need to sell it because it's got all the indicators I need. Now, that's just a story. Not a very good story, I'll admit, but it is a story. And like a car, it's kind of a metaphor, really. It's a metaphor, one of those ones. Like a car, every business needs a dashboard, right? Now, you know this as an accountant. You guys are great at doing your KPIs and your dashboards and stuff like that. But very few accountants have a marketing dashboard, right? And we need one. Right? We need one because the marketing is the vehicle that drives the revenue and profits for your business, because you can't control what you can't measure. Now, most of you have pretty much admitted you have no control over your marketing and lead generation because you don't really have a system. And if you don't have a system, you can't measure it, right? And if you can't measure it, you can't control it. And if you can't control it, why would you spend any money, invest any money on marketing if you've got no dashboard, no control, no idea of what's working? And if you think about hiring a salesperson, each month, you'd have to track their sales, wouldn't you? And if you invested money with a financial advisor, you would expect that financial advisor to talk about the return on investment, right? And if you did on a weight loss program, which I probably need to go on, it would be valuable to track your calories and your exercise and your calorie intake and your exercise, right? We need to track results. Well, marketing indicators. A business without sales marketing indicators can run into trouble as quickly as a car without a dashboard. Okay, so this wasn't really a story about my car and a dashboard. It was really just to emphasize the fact that you are effectively driving around, and the engine that drives your car is your marketing system, and you have no dashboard for it because you've got no KPIs on your marketing, and therefore it's one of the reasons, it's one of the big problems that you have for growing your business, for growing your practice, right? So why would we expect anything less? So what we need to do is we need to make marketing 100% measurable, because if you're not measuring your marketing, you're guessing your marketing, right? Successful business know their numbers. Now, what would a marketing dashboard look like? You ready? You ready? Boom. Right, this is the money ball of marketing. Now, you can see all the lead sources on the left. I'm not going to go into great detail because I'm going to give you a sort of an example on that. But I want to know what my lead sources are, or what my lead generating activities are. I want to know the cost of each of those. I want to know how many leads they all get. I want to know how many of those leads turn into meetings, how many of those turn into new clients, what the average client's worth, what's the profit margin, and then some other numbers which we're going to talk about in a minute. So this is the money ball. When you can get your, and this is easy to do as well. Like if you're an accountant, this should be bread and butter, but you just haven't thought of it. Okay, and then we want to track our marketing system, how it's working month by month, month on month, to see if anything's changing. All right, so how are we going to do this? Right, so a guy comes up to me, says a newspaper ad works pretty good and the media rep is urging me to increase from quarter page to half page. Should I do it, Mr. Petrie? And I go, well, it depends on what pretty good really means. Can you show me your numbers? And of course he goes, no, I've got no idea what my numbers are. Now, the first business I actually ever saw tracking this type of information, he didn't invent it, but he's the first business I actually ever saw it who didn't understand all this stuff. Was my uncle had a tourism business called Sunbeam Tours, and I knew he was running a whole lot of different ads in the paper. And I said, do you track your ads? When I started to learn about this stuff, I said, do you track the effectiveness of your ads? Expecting him to say no. Now, he was running a very successful tourism business. And he said, oh, absolutely. I go, but can you tell, how many leads you've got from each of your ads? He said, absolutely. I said, oh, really? Oh, that's unusual. He said, if you don't have those numbers, if you don't have that dashboard, it's like trying to find your way around in the dark. You're just guessing. He said, but having these numbers where you can, if I just go back a step, having these numbers where you know exactly what's happening, what's working, what's not, is like turning the lights on. It's like turning the lights on. Okay, cool. So effective marketing, right, the numbers don't lie, as you know. So what are the critical marketing numbers? These are the key ones you need to know about. One is the cost per lead. Cost per lead, CPL. If you spend $100 a month on Facebook advertising and 4 people respond and maybe download something, then your cost per lead is $25 from Facebook. Simple. These are simple numbers. These aren't hard. Right? $100 spent, 4 leads, that's $25 per lead. Right? Cost per client. If you spend $100 a month on Facebook advertising and you gain 2 clients, then your cost per client is $50 from that Facebook spend. I mean, this makes sense, doesn't it? No, it could be, excuse me, it could be that I spend $200. Maybe I don't spend anything. Maybe I just spend 2 hours of my time and I speak at an event. Now, I might say, well, I'm charging my time out to marketing at $100 an hour, so I'm going to say it's $200, and I got 2 leads. That's $100 per lead, and I got 1 client. Well, that's $200. My cost per client is $200, even though it's cost me nothing, but it's cost me 2 hours. So that's $200, right? So you can do it enough. That's how you do it. All right, cost per client. Boom. Now, if I can see down here on my Moneyball thing that Facebook is getting me a client every $50 I spend, then that's kind of a clue, particularly when I compare it to everything else I'm doing, that's kind of a clue as to what's actually happening. Once again, it's turning the lights on, isn't it? All right. Oh. Okay, but the cost is only half the equation, as you know. right? What's the other half? Well, the other half is how much money you make. Okay, so it depends on so where do I invest my marketing dollar? It kind of depends on my MA CPC. Well, what the bloody hell is an MA CPC? Well, it's very simple. Here's what we need to know. We need to know the lifetime value of our client. You've probably heard this type of thing before, right? What's the lifetime value of my client? Let's say my average compliance client, and this is what I'm talking about. I just want compliance clients at the moment, $2,000 a year. Okay, great. And on average, they stay for 7 years, and then they die, or they sell their business, or they do something else. So on average, the lifetime value of a compliance client is $14,000. Okay, good. That's what each one that comes on is worth to me over 7 years, which is how long they stay. Right, my question to you is, how much would you buy a $14,000 client for? And this number that you give me, if you ever work with me, I'm going to say, what's your maximum allowable cost per client? You're going to have to go in, you're going to have to track out what's working and what's not working, and probably nothing's working, so that'll be easy. And then I'm going to say how much you're prepared to spend to get a new client, right? Now, given they're worth about $14,000 over 7 years, now given it takes you 7 years to get it, so you might not say, you're probably not going to say, I'll spend $12,000. You're not going to say that. But what will you spend? No right or wrong answer, right? But the more you spend, the faster you can grow. Okay, so let's just keep going through this. Let's say I want to grow fast and I know my numbers, right? Because we've tracked them. We said how much time have you spent or how much money have you spent, and we see how many leads and how many appointments, how many clients they get. Okay, so you know your numbers. And let's say in this case, Facebook, I can pick up clients for $200 each. From Google, I can pick them up for $250. I can pick them up from speaking for $400. Referrals, let's say these are your numbers. I've just made these numbers up, right? Referrals costing me $50 each, right? So whoever spends the most wins. Okay, so what's the maximum allowable cost per client that you'll give me to win new clients? Okay, and if some of you are saying about $1,400, so let's say if my maximum allowable cost per client is $1,000, then based on what we saw before, I can actually go buying clients from all of those lead sources, right? I could go all of them, and as long as they're delivering me clients, I can grow fast because I can spend $1,000. Now, most of you don't think like that. I can grow really fast. So now this is a little advanced point, and you don't necessarily need to remember this, but I'm going to just give you another an advanced thing. Referral rate. This is what most people don't think about, and this is probably even more important than everything I'm talking to you about today, right? Let's say we have 8 referral systems in place and we have a 100% referral rate. And what that means is, it means for every $14,000 client, they bring me, because I've got referral systems in place, they bring me another $14,000 client per year. So now the lifetime value of each new client I get is actually $28,000, right? If you've got a 100% referral rate. Now, do you have a 100% referral rate? I bet you don't, right? Could you have a 100% referral rate? Absolutely, right? But that's a story for another day. So how much would you pay if you knew you could get one referral from every single client on your books? You know, given they're now worth $28,000, when you think about it like that, how much would you spend now? No, I don't know the answer, but okay. These are the things you need to know before we can even get started. Okay, you need to start thinking in this way. Now, given you're an accountant, this is actually how you think anyway. It's just you've never applied this type of thinking, I don't think, to marketing. Okay, particularly. Can you see the power? Okay, now if we know what they cost, then we can work out how much we want to buy them for. Okay, if we can lay them all out side by side, a nice little spreadsheet. If I want to buy now, we talked about buying, we talked about you winning 3 clients per month. Okay, so step number 1 is you need to know your numbers. Okay, what does it cost you from each lead source to buy a client? Now, given I know the numbers, all I need to do is invest in the right amount in the right lead source. Okay, so for example, if I want 3 clients, I can buy 3 clients based on these numbers from Facebook. And if they cost me $200, I'm going to need to spend $600 to pick myself up 3 clients. Okay, Google, I need to spend $750. If I'm speaking, I need to spend $1,200, either in time or cost or whatever it is. Referrals, I need to, referrals looks pretty good, doesn't it? $150 I need to spend. How many of you spend money to generate referrals? Not many, if any, right? Referrals is massively important. Okay, so now you're probably not at that stage yet because you haven't done your numbers and you haven't thought about it like that. But there you go. That's what you got to do. All right. Now, I know some lead sources will be more predictable and some will be less scalable. Like some of them, speaking maybe, you might be limited. You can't do unlimited speaking. But you probably could. And some will be less effort than others, right? So speaking in Facebook, but you get my point. This is where we've got to get to. If you want to exponentially grow your business fast, then we need to get you onto this type of thinking and this type of platform. I don't say a platform, it's just a way of thinking and tracking the numbers like I'm showing you here, right? Now you can do that. You can do that without my help. So we're now thinking like that. You're now in the top 1%. So some accountants may have heard of this concept, but I haven't met one that works with it that doesn't work with me, okay? And this is just a starting point, right? Once you've got this platform of thinking about buying clients, now you've got a chance, right? Now you can play the game.